I think I might have killed somebody. In fact, I could possibly be a serial killer. So we're going through this series called It's Paradigm Shift, and we've been going through the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus's magnum opus, right? His big sermon. We've gone through several different areas, and then last episode, I hope you caught it, Jesus starts out and he starts saying these things. He says, hey, I didn't come to abolish the law, but to fulfill the law. And then he says, unless your righteousness will exceed that of the Pharisees, you'll never enter the kingdom of heaven. And that freaks us out, but we talked about that, but we need to understand where this is at because we're getting ready to go into the examples that Jesus gives us. And what Jesus is saying in that, if you didn't see that episode, man, just pause right here and go back and watch that episode. Because Jesus is saying, hey, I'm not lowering the bar on righteousness. I'm raising the bar on righteousness. I'm taking it, I'm redefining righteousness. And by redefining, I don't mean a new definition. No, Jesus is saying, I'm going back and defining righteousness the way God the Father intended righteousness to be all throughout the Torah, the Old Testament. And so he's redefining it that way. Righteousness is no longer based on our behaviors and our actions. Jesus is saying, hey, in the kingdom, it's based on our motives. And then from our righteous motives, your behaviors are just going to flow out of that, right? Okay, so then Jesus, you have to have that. And then Jesus gives us some examples of these things, of these motive first righteousness over action related righteousness later on. And he goes through these statements. He says, you've heard it written or you've heard it said this, and I say this. So he's not changing the law. He's showing us the original intent of the Old Testament law. Okay, so the first thing he talks about is, hey, anger is murder in slow motion. Anger is murder in slow motion. He said, Isaiah, where'd that come from? Matthew chapter 5. We're not in Isaiah. Matthew chapter 5, verse 21 says this, you have heard that it was said to the people long ago, you shall not murder anyone. Anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. And of course, everybody's standing there, they're immediately, just like we would be, the bobbleheads, like, yep, don't kill, got it, don't kill. Yeah, that makes sense. It's in the Old Testament. It's one of the 10 Commandments. Yep, got it. And then Jesus continues, but I tell you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to a brother or sister, Raka, is answerable to court. And anyone who says, you fool, will be in danger of the fire of hell. So Jesus is moving this conversation about anger and murder. He's moving it from this external thing of what you do with your hands, killing somebody or murder, and moving it into the internal space of our hearts and our motives. Before murder happens, words happen. Before words happen, attitudes happen. So the motives and the attitudes of our heart give us the right, whether they be right or wrong, give us the right to say certain words, and those words eventually lead to violence. And so he gives us two words here, right, as examples. And the first one we might think, well, that doesn't even make sense. The first one is raka. It's an Aramaic word. It's an insult in Aramaic. And it basically means empty-headed or idiot, like just somebody that is mentally not all, you're a stinking idiot, right? And then the second one is fool. And we get that, but you might say in our American context, oh, so I can never use the word fool. But then later on, Jesus calls certain Pharisees foolish, that they're fools. So what's going on? This word here, it literally means this. Fool is a one way to define it, but it means this. It means you're worthless. So think about the power of this. Saying somebody, or in this case, thinking somebody is worthless. God's creation, God's image bearer, no matter who they are, no matter what they're doing, they are created in the image of God. And then we somehow think we have the right to say they're worthless. And we might not say it yet, but if we're thinking it, if it's in our hearts, we're thinking something God created that is said is awesome, it is good. And we say, no, it's worthless. Maybe you want to write this down. Murder starts with a sentence. Murder starts with a sentence. It starts with this feeling, and then it's just out of our mouth. When we start believing that somebody is worthless, then it seems to give us the right to say hurtful things, harmful things to them, because now we're speaking to a worthless thing. And it just snowballs from there. And again, Jesus is not saying don't ever feel angry. That's not what he's saying. Like, we, as a Christian, you can never be angry. That's not true, because God shows us that we should be, there are things that we should be angry over. If it angers God, injustice was just a big one right off the bat, that it angers God, that should anger us. Jesus is not talking about that kind of anger. He's talking about the anger that we curate in our hearts. You know, that anger that we mull over, that courtroom that plays over in our heads time and time again when we lay down at night in bed and we start thinking about that person, what they did to us. They're raka. They're stupid. They're an idiot. They're worthless. I can't believe they did that to me. I can't believe. And we just let that anger stir and boil in our hearts. So let me ask you a question. This is a fun question. Who are you quietly killing in your heart? Who are you curating anger over? Is it somebody in your family that didn't live up to some expectation that you had? Is it a coworker, a boss? Is it somebody in the community? Yeah. Who are you right now quietly killing in your heart? Okay, so if you got that person, which I'm probably sure you do, because even like we talked about this at the beginning, I think I'm a murderer. I think I've murdered some people in my life, right? What do we do with that? And Jesus, I love the teachings of Jesus, because he says, okay, here's the problem. Here's how you fix it. Here's how you work through this in the kingdom of God in this paradigm mindset. Jesus shows us that reconciliation is greater than religion. Reconciliation, making it right, reconciling it, is greater than even the ritual of worshiping God. The very next verse, Jesus gives us this solution. In verse 23 and 24, he says, therefore, therefore, what is that therefore? Anytime you see therefore in the Bible, what is it there for? It's talking about all the stuff before. So what we just talked about, since all of that is happening, don't have these motives of anger in your heart because you're just killing them inside. Therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar, and there remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First, go and be reconciled to them, then come and offer your gift. Now, this is crazy. If you think about this, these people would come to Jerusalem back in the day. They'd walk for days to get there, and they would bring their offering, whatever their sacrifice was that they were doing. And so Jesus is saying, listen, you walked for days to get here. You waited in line to get into the temple and to the priest to offer the sacrifice, whatever you brought. But before you do that, just stop, leave your offering right there, walk back 3 days or 2 days, whatever it is, reconcile, and then come back. That's crazy talk. That's crazy talk. But it shows us that God is saying, listen, God cares more about reconciliation than ritual. He's saying, don't come worship me if you refuse to walk in peace with your brother. Excuse me? Don't come worship me if you're refusing to walk in peace with your brother. That is a strong, strong word. But imagine if we took that seriously today. What if, now we ain't got to walk because we got them handy dandy phones, right? What if you come into church and before church ever starts, you think of somebody that you've offended, that you've wronged, that you have a problem with? What if the greatest thing that you ever did in worship was to pull out your phone right there in that moment and text them and say, hey, you and I, can we talk this week? I think you have an issue with me and I need to apologize, or I need to reconcile, or however you want to word it. But imagine, before you sang your first song, before you listened to the first word being preached, that you made our horizontal relationships right, then how much more does our vertical worship to God matter? Because God says, Jesus says, hey, I prefer reconciliation over ritual. That's amazing. So, who have you hurt? Notice in this whole conversation, Jesus isn't saying, he's not talking to the victim. He's talking to the one that has offended. That's us. Oh, I hear you. I've never offended anybody. Well, now you're a liar because we all have. Who have you wronged? See, this kingdom mindset, this kingdom paradigm, grace moves first. Grace moves first. If we've offended, we move first. We're the first ones that are supposed to apologize, to reconcile, to put that foot forward, to put our pride on the shelf and step into that situation. So if we don't, then we just end up killing people. And Jesus saying, listen, it's different in the kingdom of God. So not just the external things of actually murdering somebody, but what do you say? We stop murdering people in our hearts so that we can worship him with clean hands. Hey, I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. It's going to be so good, so good. Like this video, share it, and I will see you soon.
That was such an awesome word. We hope that you really enjoyed it, and we hope that it was encouraging. We even hope that it will allow you to face whatever you will have to face in the days or weeks to come. But don't make this your last time coming to see us at SouthPoint. You have a wonderful and blessed week.